Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and this program is about the evolution of consciousness. That means that we, as a collective species of human beings, are evolving to become new, more informed, more enlightened, more aware, and happier people. That's what I think is part of our evolutionary process. And that is why I'm talking today to my good friend, Zarathustra. He's in LA, but he's coming to New York February 1st and 2nd. He's going to talk about why he's coming and the level of awakening and enlightenment that he wants to bring to people. Thank you, Zarathustra, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well,
thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited you're coming to New York finally because you've been wanting to come here for a while, right?
Yeah, it only took about 6 or 7 years, but
I don't think we were ready. Now we're ready.
It's always like trusting existence and life that at due time, the right thing will manifest and present itself. So you've definitely been on my radar, and I had all the intentions to make it there. It just wouldn't happen till now.
Tell me though, the scope of the workshop. You're going to bring a lot of new information, a lot of stuff that you've learned organically in yourself. Talk about what it is that you're going to be doing.
I've designed a new workshop. It's called Life Training Program, and I'm going to be presenting the level 1 Life Training Program, a guide to happiness. And ultimately, every human being on this planet would like to be happy. We all want to be happy. Yeah. And so we traditionally, as we're growing up, we're been trained and programmed to believe that happiness is really something you have to acquire. And normally it's associated with getting the object of your desire. So whether it's a relationship, whether it's money or possessions, a car, home, or a job or some kind of status, and that's how we project that if we get what we want, then we will be happy. But quite often, after we get the object of our desire, finally we do find the partner we want, or we get the car we want. The happiness that we experience is momentarily. It won't last very long. It's short term. And then we're looking for something else, or there's a gap of emptiness or dissatisfaction that comes after that. But the happiness that I'm pointing out to is constant, is consistently there. And it has nothing to do with an object of desire. So it's such a basic human desire and need. And so I decided that I make a workshop aiming at that.
Yeah, but talk, it's great you're making a workshop, but what are you actually going to do? Lots of people talk about that, but what makes your program different? And what is really in the way? What is really in the way of our happiness?
Well, what's in the way is that the deep conditioning, or I call it the divine hypnosis, that from early childhood we get programmed to satisfaction, happiness, self-love, acceptance. It's something that you have to get it from the outside of yourself. So you're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and you do what your parents ask you to do. You eat your food, you eat your vitamins, and mom and dad, they pat you in the back, they give you a kiss, and they say, oh, good boy, good boy, we love you. And then you get a little bit older, you go to school and you're finishing your homework, and you come home and again they tell you, oh, you got an A and we love you. So for something that you have to do, a positive action, accomplishing something, you get love and acceptance from your parents, and then later on it's from your society. whether it's in school or it's in the armed forces or it's in the church or at work environment. So you get programmed to believe that love and acceptance is coming from the other world.
Where does love and acceptance and happiness? I mean, of course, it comes from within, but how do we find that essence of happiness?
That essence of happiness is, number one, is what I do with my people is I direct them to sink inside themselves to this presence, to this moment of here and now. Go beyond the mind to migrate. It's a migration from the head to the heart. To go beyond the thinking mind where the monkey mind is. So once you can bypass the monkey mind and come to yourself in this moment, here, right now, without being engaged with the stream of thoughts, then what happens is you begin to experience the present, a presence of yourself, the presence of, let's say, Her Majesty, the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Being. And that presence is extremely fulfilling and satisfying. And that brings bliss and happiness in when we come in touch with that. Well, the divine presence that is within ourselves, and it's always happening in here and now. So in an encounter with that, it comes the understanding that we're whole and we're complete. Right. We're whole and complete. There is nothing really missing. So once I begin to touch that and to realize that this moment right now is very full, is very complete, and I'm here, then that automatically brings a sense of happiness. That is not subject to a location or a kind of a behavior we have or my diet or exercise. That happiness is constant, and it doesn't matter that state of bliss, that fulfillment, whatever word we want to put to it, it's unconditional. It's not subject to me getting what I want or things go the way I want them to go. It's not an object. It is a phenomena which is always here.
So, but how do we get there? Okay, we know what it's not. It's not your parents saying you're a good boy and do your homework, and so it's not that.
Two questions. One, you said, how do we get there and what is it? So why don't we talk about the first one first?
Okay, good.
So, yeah, well, how do we get to it? That is what I'm going to be teaching, and I have been doing this. And basically by training the person to disengage from the stream of thoughts that basically engage us with misery, engage us with expectations and dissatisfactions and all the thoughts that I'm not good enough or I'm not complete and there's something missing in my mind. So by disengaging, I'm not talking about positive thinking or positive visualization. I'm talking about by recognizing this space that it's already here, which is not a mental thought. It's simply a presence. Mm-hmm. And by directing the person to touch, to feel this presence, which is here, away from the thinking mind and away from our emotional sensations. This is not an emotion that we're experiencing because emotions come and go. This is a space which is permanently here. I will teach people and give them the tools of how to focus and bring their attention to this space, to this present.
I like that. I don't think you could teach it, of course, unless you already have had that experience. So can you talk about your experience and that shift that happened in you when you realized, oh, what you were searching for and looking for wasn't it, and you found something else? What happened?
I've been a spiritual teacher for most of my life. Sometimes in the early years of my search, I was in my 20s, I stumbled upon some gurus and masters that I believe they're enlightened, and especially with my teacher in India, Amma Ji. He had something I wanted, and I realized that this man has reached inner peace. I didn't exactly know how to point it out, but I could feel like he has reached a place that is very still. He's consistent, and he doesn't have ups and downs. And at that time, I was suffering from emotional ups and downs. I was suffering from a belief system that I am my emotions, or I am my thoughts, or I am my body, my physical body. So I would experience. Then, as I investigated more and I matured into the spiritual world, I realized that, I tell people I'm seeking enlightenment, or I'm seeking oneness with the divine being, but really I was seeking equilibrium, happiness, being still, being centered, and not going up and down, and not being so involved with my stream of thoughts and stream of emotions. As I begin to focus in the next number of years, God knows how many more years, I started to focus on that. Eventually, as I was going forward, I began to realize that no matter how high I get, no matter how blissed out I get, or whatever, whether it's the use of alcohol or exercise or chemically induced, or it's by the presence of a guru, no matter how high I get, I always come back to myself. I always have to experience the opposite side of it and ultimately come to myself. I noticed that what I'm looking for, it's not really a state. It's not a state of relaxation. It's not a state of meditation, or it's not a state that, let's say I have a glass of wine, or I'm exercising, or I meet a beautiful woman and I get high from it. Those come and go, and they're not permanent. I began to notice that there must be something which is permanent. And so I investigated that. And what happened was, sometimes in 2011, and that happened in a period of a few weeks, but the final shift for me happened in September of 2011. Then I begin to, in a couple of months prior to September of 2011, I begin to experience a shift in my psyche, in my mind.
What were you doing to experience that? Was it just desire?
No, I wasn't really doing anything. I was going through, I got super confused, because I was following the teachings of my Sat Guru, Papa Ji, and Papa Ji passed away a long time ago in 97. But now this is like 2011, and I go to India in March or April of 2011, and I went and saw three different spiritual gurus, teachers. And after I saw the second one, I realized that I'm not interested to see the third one. So I continue my journey. I come back to the US, and I'm more confused than ever before. Now I have my spiritual teacher's teachings, and I have all these other teachings mixed up with one another. So for a couple of months, it was hell. Mm-hmm. And I went through really severe confusion and pain.
But that was important. That was important to go through, because it kind of shook things up, right?
Yeah, obviously it was necessary to happen, because something started to shift inside me. And what happened is I began to experience and observe that my mind started to turn inwards. So rather than projecting things on the outside of myself, the mind started to turn inwards and started to project within. And it's hard to explain it, because it's not exactly the way I'm telling you, but it's a way of explaining this. So like these doors, these big iron doors, started to turn inwards. And what happened is what the headlights of my mind begin to get focused within, and I began to see the real self. I began to see myself, the real me. You may want to call it the Atman or the soul, but I started to see myself. And
because you you allowed yourself to go through this really confusing time and something got sorted out in you. Is that it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a part of it. Let's say you have to walk 148 steps or 150 steps to get to the final destination, and the 148, 49 steps, there were extreme confusions, but there were the steps I had to take to get to the clarity. So it wasn't like because of the last couple steps, I was on a journey for a long time. So all those 150 other steps, they count.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they led me to this place.
Yes.
Right. So when this shift happened and the mind turned inward, the discovery was I discovered the state of presence. I discovered Zarathustra, the one who is the observer, the one who is watching, the one who's silently standing or sitting here and is not judging the states of ups and downs. It's simply observing ups and downs, but it's not involved with it.
Was that a surprise for you that all of a sudden this being came forward, or did you always suspect it was there?
I knew there was something there, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and because that part is everyone, every single human being on this planet, spiritual, non-spiritual, good person, bad person, everybody is doing that. Everybody is that. The difference between someone who's gone through the awakening and someone you may call sleepy is the recognition of that place. That one person has recognized it and another person hasn't. Really nothing you are gaining or you acquiring. So it's something you recognize that you already are. So because if you gain something, you can also lose it. It's like if you're gaining, like you're working on your biceps and you build up your biceps and they get bigger. Well, if you somehow can't exercise for 2 years, you're going to lose them. You lose the muscle. Mm-hmm. But this is not something I gained. It was a recognition, a presence of a space which is already here, and everybody else has it too. In a way, I don't find that anything special that I have acquired, yet in the meantime, it's very special because in this recognition, what it does is suffering gets eliminated. So there's no identifying with suffering. Suffering can happen, but it only happens in the mind. It's not happening to who I am. And the emotional ups and downs are being observed. I can experience the emotional ups and downs, and they're very real, but I know I'm not them. So that is freedom.
So but the hard part, I think, for most people is to realize they're not their mind, because their mind, they may not be their body, but they are their mind.
Well, I mean, the strongest identification we have is our body, the deepest identification, because if your body is threatened, it's very, very serious versus your mind or your emotions. Right. So that is the number one. Mm-hmm. But when you come to this realization or recognition, is you realize you're not any of these three things because you are observing them. You're observing the change with your body. you have seen your body. It's been 5 years old, 10 years old. It went through puberty. If you're a woman, there's significant changes in your body. If you're a man, start growing hair on your chest and your face and everything. So you observe the body's changing. You get older, you start losing hair, your eyes are not well, and you report it. You report it to yourself or your friends. Yeah, I'm not recovering I used to recover. I've noticed I'm not as fast as I used to be. I've noticed I need a knee replacement. I need a hip replacement. You are observing changes in your body. Mm-hmm. Same thing with your mind. You come and tell somebody, or people come and tell me, Zarathustra, my mind is driving me crazy. My mind is just absolutely going nuts. It's like, how do you know your mind is going crazy? How do you know that you have a lot of thoughts? Because if you are your mind, if you are your thoughts, whatever crazy, however they are, you would have never known you are your thoughts, because thoughts would be your only experience of life. Right. Like someone comes and tells me I have a lot of anxiety. I ask them, do you have it all the time? I mean, do you have anxiety 24/7 a day? And they say no. It comes and goes. It's more in the mornings, or it's more in the afternoons, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a time that there is no anxiety. If anxiety was my only experience, I would have never known what anxiety is. So I must be separated from it. I must be somewhere else that I can observe it and report it. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be separate from it in order to reflect on it.
Exactly. You have to be separate from it in order to reflect on it. So if you're separate of it, then where are you? Where is your seat? Where are you that you are aware of a passing emotion? Anxiety comes and anxiety goes. And then maybe after that there is sadness. So now you're witnessing or observing sadness. And then what happens? Eventually sadness goes and something else comes. Maybe after that there's a deep silence. Right. Maybe after that anger comes. But where are you that these things come in front of you and they go?
Right. So you're watching it. You're watching it all, right?
You're watching it. Exactly. So if you're watching it, then they can't have any effect on you, because if they did have an effect on you, then you wouldn't be able to watch them anymore. They would disturb your ability to watch them or to know them. So you have to be separated from them, because your ability to be aware of them, that awareness does not change. It's always there. Whether you even know what I'm talking about or you don't, you're always aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your body.
In the workshop, then, people come in, regular, normal people attached to their emotions. How then do you do exercises? What do you do to get them to the place of the witness?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because what my primary goal is that to show them what is not real, because sometimes it's difficult to see what's real, but sometimes it's much easier to show them what's not real. And by bringing them to a place that they can first touch their own presence, mm-hmm. that which is here, and to bypass and disregard what is not real.
Well, what you mean what's not real is their emotions, their feelings, their body. I mean, but it all seems very real.
Yes, it seems very real, of course. But when I direct them to this place of the observer, if they come to recognize their main seat, where they're really sitting, and they start to see that part, then everything else becomes unreal.
Well, how do you direct them to that place?
And in that transition, I use certain kind of meditations, guided meditations, active meditations, and then as well as a transmission of the truth through silence. Something gets transmitted to them.
Well,
the understanding.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting part that sort of makes you different than other teachers who are talking about this, because everyone's talking about Eckhart Tolle, everyone. But what is the transmission? And I think you've been activated by something, and now you're able to transmit that. Talk about that transmission part.
We're all a part of the unified and oneness. We're all swimming into it all day long. So there's an underlining fabric of consciousness that connects us to each other. So we have that in common regardless. It's like the air we're breathing. It doesn't matter from which race or color or religion or financial economic status you come. It won't matter. We're all breathing air, correct?
Right. Yes, of course. Yes.
So we have a commonality in consciousness that connects everything to everything. So what I do is the transmission happens through that field. Yeah, if I am able to help you to quiet your mind or bypass your thinking mind, what happens is you automatically sink into this field. You automatically dissolve into the oneness. And since you automatically have become the field of oneness becomes available to you. Your password gets you connected to it.
But what is it? What happened to you? You were activated or had a transmission? I mean, because this part, everything else is very clear, but this piece, I'm trying to understand the transmission part. Like,
and that's what I'm explaining to you. Mm-hmm. Is like if you come across somebody who has discovered themselves and they have tapped into silence, they have discovered inner silence. So within themselves, it's quiet. They have become quiet inside. By becoming quiet inside, there's a tremendous amount of energy field that's activated around you. Mm-hmm. And that energy field affects anyone in your surroundings. By discovering my own silence, I'm tapped into this unified field of oneness. And then what happens is that transmission takes place through this phenomena of tapping into your own inner silence. It gets transmitted to other people. To those people who are available to you, they make themselves available. They cannot help not feeling it and not touching it. And that's how it gets transmitted. Now, sometimes your audience may not know this. Like, I became a healer in 2009.
Right.
And sometimes I touch people, or I put my hand on their head, or I put my hand on their third eye. And that transmission happens through that. But in recent years, I don't really need to put my hand on anybody. I basically tap into that unified field of oneness, and that transmission, that phenomena starts to get activated, and the transmission happens through just being quiet and sitting together in the same room.
Did something happen to make that happen for you?
You mean this transmission?
Yeah. What happened to make that
right.
happen?
I mean, I had two different experiences. One was in 2009, and which the healer came, and then it gave the birth to fifth dimensional quantum healing. And that was through having an encounter with my fifth dimensional guide.
Did that happen to everyone with the healer, or just you?
That was my experience. I can only experience, I can only speak of my own experience, and that's what happened to me. There are a lot of respectable healers that they've been touched, and they by the grace, and the healing energy started to flow through them. But that's what happened to me in 2009. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people around the planet that they've experienced similar thing.
So, okay, so you get them to that, and then you give them a kind of zap of some transmission, and something happens to them all the time, or just some people, or
Some do. Some go through an instant transformation, and this transmission lasts for a very long period of time, maybe permanently or not, and some don't. So a part of the work is, Alan, is that what we do is we help people raise their vibrations. And that's, what you're doing in your way is helping people raise their awareness and expand their consciousness through what you do.
yes,
And,
yes, yes.
and so I do the same thing, helping people raise their vibrations to a higher frequency, to an expanded level, to go beyond the everyday normal life, to see things beyond what the eye meets and what the media is teaching us, to see that there is something more than the five senses can feel and touch and taste. Correct?
Yes,
So,
I totally agree.
and that's what is happening, is this activation, this work is about that, is to help the person to expand and to touch and to see, to get a taste and a glimpse of this part of themselves. Now, sometimes, as you know, some people are capable of staying in this level of higher frequency, or this level of heightened awareness and expanded consciousness. And some people can't sustain it, they fall back. But even if they fall back, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We can use this example. Let's say you have a party, and you want to use some balloons, and you bought a bunch of brand new balloons, and you have to fill them up. If you pay attention, you never fill up a balloon all the way to its full potential, because if you pump it up with air all the way to its full potential, it will blow up halfway through. So
Yes.
you have to fill it up halfway and then let the air out so the balloon gets expanded. Then,
Oh.
then the second time you may go 75% air in a balloon, and then you let the air out. And then the third time you fill it up all the way to its maximum capacity. You've filled up balloons in the past.
Right. So you keep. So if you did that to a person, they would not be able to hold the energy. Is that what you're saying? You filled them up all
Yeah,
the way?
yeah, depends on the person and how much spiritual work they've done and how much they've practiced and where they're at.
Right.
Not everybody can sustain a high frequency transmission and a higher level of consciousness. They can get a glimpse of it and be there for a while, but then they have to come back to where they are and then go back again, because it's too much to chew on in the first take.
I want to ask you, when you're doing this, when you're transmitting, are you actually doing anything?
Well, these days, and in this workshop, we will do some active meditations, some dancing or jumping up and down, or making noises, or shaking the body. And while we're focused on our third eye or on our heart, and that I guide my people, and that what it does is, when you're jumping up and down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you stop and you have your attention on one point, that automatically takes you to a much more quiet place within yourself. means your vibration starts to rise. And then we repeat that. We repeat that exercise 2 or 3 times. And by then, you become super quiet and you sink into your heart. And that's where the presence begin to reveal itself to you, because you're not in your mind. You're not trying to understand this teaching through your intellect and trying to analyze it, but you begin to sense and feel something much bigger beyond your intellect, which is the presence.
What do you actually do to transmit? Do you just stand there or just go to a space? Or do you zap them or something?
Yeah, it depends on the situation, how many people I've got and where they're at and how they're doing. If I feel like they're there, I just stay with them. If I feel like they need me to come and touch their third eye and zap them, I'll do that. It pretty much happens organically. I just feel the room and see who needs what, and I attend to them based on their needs.
Now, is this ability in you changing and getting more powerful, or is it staying the same?
Myself, you're talking. If I'm getting more powerful, well, the thing is, one thing I gotta clear that I don't have any personal power. So it's not me getting powerful or not. It appears to be that I'm getting more powerful, but it's not really me. The more I illuminate and get out of the way, and the conduit, the passage becomes more free and clear, and there's more energy travel through the conduit. So it's not a personal power. It's a power of existence that flows through me. And that one is ultimate. It is the most powerful one.
But is that presence, because you're getting more and more out of the way, so is that power flowing through you getting bigger?
Absolutely. Because when the ego is involved and you get identified with me and look at me and I'm powerful and I'm strong and I'm a healer and blah, 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 then you're in the way. You're clogging the pathway because your ego is there. There is a connection with a sense of authorship, as I am somebody powerful, capable of doing miracles. But when you get out of the way and you're not involved in it, and you're simply allow yourself to be a conduit of transferring energy, then tremendous amount of infinite energy can pass through you.
So more and more is passing through you all the time then, right?
It definitely seems like it's become a lot stronger than maybe a couple of years or a few years ago when we met.
Right. But are you sometimes go back to that human place? Do you have moments where self-pity and doubt, all those human emotions come back in? Or are you in that place of happiness all the time?
No, I mean the thoughts and the emotions of a human and the pity, they pass through me just like anybody else. It's like just because I know I'm the blue sky, that doesn't mean I can't experience clouds passing through. The clouds come and go, and sometimes it's very gloomy. And, you're sitting here looking at the sky, and it's a nice blue sky, and it's always blue. And sometimes you have patches of cloud, and sometimes it's fully covered and it's a storm. And I experience the same thing. There are times that it's super clear and nothing's going on, and there are times that things are going on. But that does not take away of the fact that I never forget I'm the observer, and I'm not my thoughts or my emotions. That doesn't take that away. But when it's happening, it's very real in the moment, because that's what is going on. Otherwise, this awakening would make you numb. You're just not feeling anything. And you're not, you're completely indifferent. That would be very boring life.
So your goal for this weekend in New York coming up is to get everyone to that place where they can touch that and taste that and know what that place of peace is.
Absolutely, and giving them tools to sustain it.
Like what
To
kind of
stay
tools?
there.
Can you give us a sample of the tools?
Yeah, basically, as I mentioned before, there's the teachings to help them to look for this place, to recognize the space that's within them. So I would teach that, and I would give them meditation techniques and tools that help them reach that place.
People have to really want to do that, though. Most people don't have the patience or the time, or they're still pursuing their goals in the world. They're still thinking a better job, better girlfriend, better apartment, more money will make them happy.
Those people who really, they're normally are not interested in what we do. I don't think they're going to come and listen to your program if they have no interest in the world of spirit.
Right.
And we're not on a religious crusade. We're not here to convert non-believers in believing, because there's millions of people who have interest already. They've been touched by the spirit. Right. And they're interested. So we just focus on those who are available to this.
So if they want to come and be a part, and then what's been the results in past workshops with this? What have you seen and experienced with people?
Well, I've seen a lot of miracles happen. I've seen people completely go through major transformation and going through a major life change.
Like what? What can you give me a specific example of somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I have hundreds of different examples. Like just about a few months ago, then when I was in Frankfurt for the first time, one lady came after one of my events, and she proclaimed that she was suffering from severe depression for 33 years. After being with me in an event, her depression has been gone. And we're getting emails and all kinds of testimonials from her that she's depression free, and she can't believe it. But wow. That's what's happening to her. I had another lady in Sweden that a few months ago I've been working on. I was doing healing on her. I was doing physical healing on her. And she had an accident that her cervical bones were shattered. And so she was in a lot of pain. And after 3 sessions that I worked with her, her pain disappeared. I had different people. I had people who were suicidal.
Interesting relationship between the body and the state of mind. So when you get to the state of mind of peace, what's the translation into, like, why would the body heal because of that?
Well, because healing is a natural phenomenon, Alan, that is happening all the time. You know, if you cut your finger while you're just cutting something in the kitchen, what happens? The finger starts to heal itself.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So healing is a natural thing that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. So, but if you put your finger that you cut it, you know, let's say it was a minor cut, and you're constantly fooling around with where it's healing, or you're using heavy equipment, machinery or whatever, or you're pouring lemon juice on it, or you're pulling the crack, so it's not going to heal. The wound stays open, right?
Right.
But if you Band-Aid it and keep it nice and dry or moist or whatever and covered and not put pressure on it, the skin heals and just mend itself back. So it's the same thing here. Is the right environment. If you create the right environment for the psyche, for the emotion, or for the body, then healing you create an environment that healing can happen. Yeah. So
no, but I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to get it on a deeper level, the relationship between the clarity of mind, and then the sort of energy that goes back into the body because you've kind of reached a new vibration. That sort of connection, right?
Yes. Well, the thing is, healing happens in here and now, in this moment. So it's always in the present moment. So if I can create an environment for you that you disconnect from the monkey mind, from the past or the future, and you sink into yourself in this moment. So you're here sitting and you're in this very deep, peaceful place with yourself, and you start to feel the presence of the being. Then healing starts to happen. And what it can do is infinite. Its power is beyond any words. So I create that environment for people.
So that's your mission, is to create that, hold that space, and have people come to a new place in themselves.
Yes, exactly. And I get a lot of joy.
Great.
And it's, well, one of my clients. She's been with me for a number of years, and when I originally met her, she looked very depressed, and she looked about 10, 15 years older. And her parents wanted to institutionalize, put her in an institution.
Right.
So anyway, she came and did a workshop with me, and then I don't see her for a while. And then after a while, I run into her at a coffee shop, and I didn't recognize her because she looked 10 years younger. She walks up to me, gives me a hug, and embraces me, and she says, I go, what's going on? What happened? You look like somebody else. And she says, you know what? It's funny because now my family definitely want to put me in an institution.
Right.
And I said, why? Is it because what's wrong with you? You're really happy. You've changed. There must be something wrong with you that you're not depressed. I have a lot of experiences like that with a lot of people that have gone through major transformation in a very short period of time. I don't attribute that to me, that I am the one who's doing it, but I attribute that to them and the work that they make themselves available, and we are able to dive into this place, pure presence. And then all of a sudden transformation takes place from this here and now, this healing place.
Beautiful, beautiful. So how can people then find out where these events are going to be?
They can come on my website, which is Zarathustra.tv.
That's how do you spell Zarathustra? Zarathustra.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Zarathustra.tv. And also the event we're going to have in New York City is going to be at a center called Padma, which is PADMA. It's a meditation and holistic center, Padma NYC. And it's located on number 6 West 14th Street, suite number 2B, B as a boy, New York, New York.
I think I've been there. It's a nice place. Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place. I'm offering a free event, which is on Friday, February 1st from 7 to 8:30. I will be giving a talk and transmission, which takes place.
Where's that going to be?
At the same place, at Padma Center.
Okay.
And then the following day, we're going to have the workshop, which is from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. And we priced it extremely low. The early bird price is $75, and at the door is $95.
Great. And that goes from what times it start?
11 a.m. till 5 o'clock.
Okay. That sounds real. I mean, thank you for taking the time going through this. But this is your work now. Everywhere you travel around the planet, this is what you do, huh?
Yes, I've been traveling between the United States and Europe, and Asia and Middle East. So that's what I've been doing.
And what have you found? Are people waking up to this more and more?
Right. Well, I find a very commonality among all people around the world. They're all looking for happiness.
Mm.
And there's a lot of seekers no matter where I go. There's a lot of people suffering, and they're in anxiety and fear and depression. And I find the same thing everywhere. So
But
I try to help them.
but are people more receptive at this time in our history than before?
Yeah, it appears to be because, with all this media and all this fear is being pumped in the media, it scares people and more than ever before.
Yeah.
So, and also with the technology, the advancement of technology and so much electromagnetic waves all over the space, it affects the minds and creates ADD and ADD and a lot of disturbance in the psyche of human beings. So there's more need for this work than ever before.
Yeah, and more receptivity is what I'm also thinking.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your time. Your website again is zarathustra.com, is it? No, what is
Zarathustra.tv.
.tv, zarathustra.tv. And we'll be seeing you in New York City February 2nd, 1st and 2nd, but you also travel all over the world for people listening to this program all over the world. So
Yes, I also have an academy that I broadcast live every week. And your listeners are welcome to join me at my academy. It's a free broadcast that happens every Tuesday from 10 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. California time.
And where do they find that?
They find it on my website, zarathustra.tv.
Okay.
They can click on the academy and join the academy. There's no obligations. They don't have to put their credit card in or anything. And they can come in and leave as they wish.
Great. That is a great service. Well, it's always great to talk to you. This is our second program. We did a program a couple of years back, and it's on YouTube, actually. But it seems like you've gotten to a new place, I think. Seems like.
Yeah, it's an constant endeavor and changing all the time. So I'm evolving with it too. And it's very exciting. It's really wonderful to see all these changes that are happening. And I'm a part of it.
Yeah, we're all a part of it. And we're all, yeah. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you for really caring about people enough to want to wake them up,
Well, I really appreciate Alan interviewing me. It's my pleasure and honor to be at your show again.
Oh, thank you. So I'll see you in New York, and then I'll see you in LA, and then you might be back for the New Life Expo. So we'll see you a couple of times back and forth.
You bet.
All right. Thanks. This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. I've been talking to Zarathustra. If you want to reach me, go to my website, newrealities.com, New Realities Events, and my YouTube channel, youtube.com/New Realities. You can see also my first interview with Zarathustra on my New Realities YouTube channel. Thank you, and good night.
Where do I begin? A left mention, it's like a spacecraft landed in my backyard. With Alan on a camel and my man Bashar. 10 rabbis, a physicist, guru and a genius. A woman who can teach you how to grow your penis. I'm a Rumpler, Jay-Z, channeling true love. Oh, reality's boring, we're starting a new one. Hearts popped open, Dalai Lama. Rock your soul with my tantric chakras. Now say Om with Deepak Chopra. Natasha Sodo, who needs Oprah? Shaman Steve and his higher selves. NSA can't stop my elves. Fairies landed, whole world's dusted. Hugging undercovers, butt naked in public. Government's bugging, but they're so corny. Back to the craft first, starborn orgy. What? It's the realities. Changing the news, the realities. God's interviews, the realities. Where do I begin? A left mention, JJ. Hurtak, keys of Enoch. Open up doors, teleport to Montauk. Navy ships disappear for battling. Duncan Cameron starts time traveling. Nassim Harriman, electron spin. Word iron word selling channeling. Paulo, masculine, feminine. Marianne Williamson, tears to triumph. Jade goddesses lift weights with their vaginas till there's a tantric holy glow. Jody Sorota's a UFO from Sedona to DC. Washington disclose ETs. David Icke is like Adam and Eve. Meet me down a caravan of dreams for Alan Steinfeld's new realities. With cheese, what? It's new realities. Changing the news, new realities. God's interviews, new realities. Where do I begin? A left mention, new realities. Changing the news, new realities. God's interviews, new realities. Where do I begin?